So we are in the education slash new members e-NABLE meeting for the month. And I know there was just an exciting other meeting that maybe folks are still wrapping up for. I'm not sure what our RSVP list looks like. I'll go check. But good to have you here, Tom and Jonathan. And
Thanks,
I
Neil.
know both of you are frequent flyer, super involved in the org people. So this might turn into more of our like geeking out on stuff we're interested in quicker meeting if we don't have other new members or other people from educational spaces connect to talk.
Sounds good. Nice mustache, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, I had the flu for like 18 days and decided to keep it.
That's what got Jana and me down right now. I came back from overseas about 10 days ago, and I got sick, and then poor thing, I gave it to her. So
It's so
it's just,
bad.
it
I hope you're
won't go
fighting through
away.
it. Yeah, I had like the fever for like 4, 5, 6 days or something, but then I could not like clear out after it for like
Right.
another almost 2 weeks.
Did you have cold sweats too?
Yeah, I had like the chills. It was
Yeah.
almost just
Jeez
like if you've
Louise.
gotten one of like the COVID shots. It was like the night of that, but for like a
Yeah,
week.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like I was like, is this malaria?
Yeah, yeah. Well, good luck. Hopefully you're getting through the worst of it.
I think I'm on the tail end of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, beginning of the semesters, I always, having a very international school, we have people from over 100 countries on campus. They all come back that same week. And I usually in this winter semester start, I get something.
I hear you. I flew over with a mask on, no
Yeah.
issues. I was there for about 2 weeks, came back. I got lazy with the mask, and sure enough, it got me.
Yep. It sounds like the last meeting was really exciting. Had a great guest speaker there. And you were saying there was some interesting projects coming up.
Jonathan, how would you summarize it? I mean, it was more about how Enable could get involved, and David was explaining that we're kind of a loosey-goosey organization. It's what can we do more for her? And she's like, well, get the word out for us. Some big events. The one that's coming up is the games. Was that like Olympics, Jonathan, in 2028 in LA?
Yeah, I believe that's what it is.
Yeah. And their main events, April, they've got Cape Cod for an educational conference. So basically, teach people with limb differences, different sports that they're interested in.
Super
And then
cool.
Grand Rapids in July, it's their international competition. And I guess they change locations every 2 years. So next year, they'll be going someplace else. And then Breckenridge, same location every year in December for their big ski event.
Well, it's super great opportunity to do some assistive sports devices.
Absolutely.
We've done some sport customized grip interfaces or uh, like other tools for athletes that I think is a really rich space to explore.
Right.
And I think there
Absolutely.
there are big wins for that in the customization of 3D scan and 3D print space, but also the like sort of like quick adaptability to like get feedback. Is it helping? Is it not helping? And iterate.
And it's something that they're open to for volunteers to participate in these events. That could be interesting just to go see where, like you're saying, how anybody could plug in. Um, yeah,
Really interesting. It was great to talk to your team. That was like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. We checked in on the 3D scanning topic for customization of e-NABLE parts.
I think I missed that one. I
Okay.
was overseas. Yeah,
Yeah. So we're working with some of the ASU students on some 3D scanning questions for how they could take 3D assets into their design tool and then use a scan of an upper limb difference to as a basis to adapt an e-NABLE design around, which is technically interesting. And the outcome of that was that we probably want to break that into two different parts. And one part is going to be presume you can already get a useful 3D scan. How would you then use that to work with the shape data of an existing model? And it's really like how do we do some customization of these locked STL files and probably combining it with another STL file of the unique physiology that we're adapting it to. So that's one interesting R&D space. And then the other one is 3D scanning has come a long way, but is still sort of computationally intense and a little technically difficult, more of an art than a science for a lot because the tools are so different. So, what's the right way and the minimum barrier to get a good scan? And I think there's sort of like two approaches they're looking at. Well, I guess three. Like, so at the higher end, you could buy a device, and the devices are coming down in price and up in quality. So you could buy one of these like $500 to $2,000 3D scanners, but then how do we get it, especially to the developing world? The other part is some phones now have those time of flight LiDAR sensors. So can we use sensors on like top tier phones like Samsungs and Apples? And then the more accessible, I think the most interesting question is like now that photogrammetry is so good and we have such great cameras everywhere, what is the minimum data set of photos you would need to get a decent scan out of it? And so I think they're going to separate one team looking at the scan side, mainly from mobile device, either photo or LiDAR. And then one team looking at the, presume we have a good 3D asset. How do we then adapt, enable existing designs to that?
That's awesome. And that's an area I'm really interested in learning more about. I don't have a lot of knowledge. I'd use I think polymorph on my iPhone using a
Yeah.
LiDAR scanner, but also Bamboo that their web hub for the device. I can't think of the name of the thing. Bamboo Handy
Yep.
or Maker's World. I guess there's a new app out there that you can send in a photo and turn it into a 3D model.
Yeah. Oh, and that's just a single photo where it's doing some AI stuff for what the
Right,
context would
right,
be. Very cool. No, and I was thinking that like for some of these like unique physiology, like it's hard to train a data set on that, but maybe we only need like four reference photos, like similar to how a lot of the like you bring in those orthogonal pictures of the limb difference as a sketch plane to like drape the model on and then adjust to with some sort of like ruler for scale that you scale up in your CAD tool.
right.
Like, is there a way that we could just get a couple views and automate some of that, like
Hmm,
minimally? Um, so yeah, very interesting time to push what's possible. And it's all sort of because we're using these broken 3D meshes to describe shapes that are not super easy to manipulate and adapt. But maybe some of these automated 3D model design tools can help with that.
awesome,
So that's
awesome.
cool. I can't wait to learn from what that team is working on.
Hmm.
The only other educational project that I had on my thing to talk about today was that one of my classes that does CAD and CAM, our Intro to Design Methodology class, is about to do their open source assistive device like week or two sprint on making Phoenix V2 hands. And we've moved to the Phoenix V2 from the V3 because it has a couple of niceties for the students to play with themselves. And then the other thing we can think about with new members for this is I'll probably have 8 to 10 assembled hands a month from now. And is there a site somewhere in the world that would like those not necessarily to give to end users, but as touchstones to like show the menu? I think that's always a great way to start a conversation with a recipient is be like, here is the space we're working in. What do you think about this? How would you adapt this physical object?
Ooh, it's a good idea.
So that's what was on my plate to discuss today, sort of like this 3D scanning question and this like if there are schools creating these objects, maybe they're not ready to go direct to recipients, but they might be a good touchstone for other maker spaces closer to recipients to show it's possible. Uh, did either of you have topics that you wanted us to dig into while we're all here?
Well, for me, I'm just plugging back in after coming back from that trip and all that, and just good to see everybody.
And I think Jonathan stepped away for a minute. Looks like Sarah
Okay.
is back. If there's
I,
any
I
other topics we could dig in, or we could geek out a little bit on hardware availability. And I know there's a couple new printers we were interested in.
yeah, geeking out sounds good. Yeah.
So uh, we are currently a Prusa shop mostly. We have we have 50 different types of printers, but we've been trying to move towards standards. And so our classrooms currently have Prusa minis in them. We found those have really good throughput and uptime. It took us a while to get like the culture of repair where we could maintain them, but now we're pretty happy with them. And a lot of that had to do with filament feed issues. It's really just like the loading and unloading, otherwise very solid machines. We particularly like that because we like teaching Prusa Slicer. But we have this existential question about more and more we're seeing in grad schools and industry less Prusa machines, and bamboo is everywhere. So
Mhm.
should we be teaching more bamboo stuff so the students see the same hardware and software that they're going to see when they go to their next thing? So we're doing some testing with we've got, and there's sort of only like two scales we're super interested in. Well, what we've learned in the last like 3 years of trying to standardize, which is we either want like smaller printers we can afford more of and put more of in the classroom and in our maker spaces. So that's a Prusa Mini or a Bamboo A1 Mini or something like that. Yeah, for a while it was Ender, like Ender printers before that.
Right. Yeah.
But now, like current gen, it's probably like one of those minis. And then the next tier for us is really like an enclosed multi-material large printer. And so we've looked at the Creality K2 pluses, but really we're standardizing maybe on the H2Ds, which are a bit more expensive, but they're a little easier to maintain. So we're doing a field test now. We had a couple teaching grants that faculty got, and this is our first semester where the faculty in other academic departments, fine arts and biochemistry, have gotten grants to buy printers for things they want to do in course. 3D printing sculptures that students make from derivative scans.
I
It's
just did
a
a Michelangelo Pieta on the
super cool.
H2D. Turned out real nice.
So that's super encouraging.
Yeah.
And how long was it? Was it like a multi-day print? Was it
A,
overnight print?
a day and about 5 hours.
Cool.
And the detail is amazing because the fingers are individual, and
Yeah.
you had this STL was broke, so you had to go in there and fix it, and
Yep.
then change the supports. But it came out really well.
And for
And
supports,
yeah,
did you use organic supports?
organic.
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Nice. And then
Um,
did you go beyond a single kilogram in that?
no, no,
So
no, I did not.
one of the cool features now is there's automatic failover spool to spool,
Yes,
which has
yeah,
been super cool for us, and we can't even really detect the seams.
right. I did the same thing on the H2D and had good results on that.
Really
Um,
cool.
quick question for you.
Yeah.
Snapmaker U1 is going to be a head changing
Yeah.
device,
Yep.
and they've got a real good price point right now. And it's got a semi enclosed. It's enclosed everywhere except at the top, but
Yep.
there's some fixes you can do, an IKEA bucket, or they're coming out with their own version. But all the reviews, I've been really studying that one. It really sounds that's where the
The
next
four
technology
different
jumps
tool
for me.
heads is very
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a third of the cost of the H2S, if I'm saying
Yep.
the right model of bamboo.
But still just
So
270. It's a little smaller.
fair. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. But it's I think what the point is that the next technology jump is going to be the multi-head.
Yeah,
So
and like true IDEX printing is like super
right,
cool.
right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we've
Because
got to get some of these in testing.
yeah,
And the other part
yeah.
is the software to drive these. So, and I don't think there's a public profile out yet, but we ran a couple of these workshops as a test in Orca Slicer
Mhm.
so that students could go straight to either a Bamboo or a Prusa and having good profiles for both.
Right.
So, like for us, it's a lot like the software that can feed into these and not have to teach like four different slicers.
That's fair. And with H2D with two heads, you can still play the game of the PLA versus the PETG and
Yes,
have one
so
as a
nice.
support. Yeah,
That's so nice.
it really
And then
is.
you get like really easy disconnection. It like just falls right off.
You ain't kidding.
Yeah.
On that Pieta, I was doing just PLA with supports, and so had
Yep.
to go surgical. Very careful.
Oh yeah. We've been
Yeah.
doing that on rafts for big things with large flat bases because it's so hard to get that off clean, but they really just pop right off when they cool. It's so
Right.
nice.
Right.
So yeah, so we're thinking a lot about exactly that. Snapmaker wasn't on my radar, but it should be for that price point. Unbelievable.
Just to evaluate, because I've seen some people have like 7,000 prints already, and no failures. So again,
Nice.
going to the maintenance
The
culture,
uptime.
as
Yep.
long as you can stay ahead of it, the failure rate's very low.
And so yeah, so that's the dual use case is throughput. So we want a lot of cheap, high uptime printers. And then the specialty stuff with that like custom support, bigger format, like once you've hit a limit. And for uptime, we've moved our one of our public labs is PLA only, but then a lot of our like engineering spaces are going to be whatever material you need for the project. So we're trying to think about like how do we keep these machines stable? And I do agree, like that multi-tool head looks like a great way to keep it easier maintenance. Do
Just
you know if
upload
these
that
are
photo.
shipping?
Yeah.
Are these in pre-order? Yeah, pre-order.
They've shipped out quite a few for they're in pre-order, but they're filling orders right now.
Cool.
But on that photo, if you zoom into the hands on the left of Mary and Jesus, just the detail is really,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it looks like clay, like really
Yeah.
impressive.
And the lines, I printed a second one. This filament was a bit wet.
Yep.
So I printed a second one on a different spool and it's much smoother.
Yep, yep. Yeah, filament quality is everything.
It really
That was
is.
for us, it was finding the right filament vendor too, and not having spools open for like the whole summer.
Oh, good point.
Made a huge difference on
Who's your preference
quality.
for filament?
So we've gone back and forth, but currently we Overture has been great for us. Overture is available and quick, and they have a rep in New Hampshire that came and visited us. So it's cool. They have like a regional person who we can talk to.
I've had good luck with Overture,
But we had moved away from a lot of those brands during pandemic because we just couldn't get them, and now we're revisiting all the filament vendors. And we particularly also liked the cardboard spool, so that we're not creating so many black plastic extra spools every day.
No, that's a good point too. I've been trying to do more of the reusable spools. I
Yep.
had some issue with some with dust buildup from the cardboard,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's right.
totally.
Yeah, I went back to the plastic, but as long as the plastic were refillable.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. Yeah, so you can, is that where you snap it apart and you can put the
yeah,
spool right on it? That's really
exactly.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
think
then
these
of
are
all
important.
things, Hobby Lobby started selling filament.
Oh, really? I haven't
I,
tried theirs.
and yeah, it's supposedly it's pretty decent, but I'm still kind of a fan of was it Sunlu and
Yep.
Overture, especially for the browns that we are talking about for
Yeah.
that Uganda project.
Yep. Totally. Really nice. The quality of filament. We've tried a lot of the Sunlu for their other materials. Like we get some of the specialty filaments, and I have a ton of testing I got to do with the Fiberon stuff. Some of the like higher quality nylons or PAs.
Oh,
I'm really
yeah.
excited to get a little more into.
As you find out, I've not printed with nylon, so I might be picking your and Jonathan's brain about that. I've heard a
Jonathan
lot of
has
positive.
suggested a couple that I've tried out, and now one thing I like about the K2 Plus from Creality is that it does have like a dehydrating chamber in the AMS,
Right.
which is really nice. So I feel less like I've got to run that spool like this week when I open it.
That's a good point. On that, was it eSun came out with the AMS replacement for the X1C for the first generation. So I got a couple of those, and they seem to work pretty
Nice,
well.
nice. Yeah, what
Yeah.
I'm doing with I have an A1 regular that I just have two of those like really cheap Amazon filament drivers that hold
Hmm.
two spools each, and then I
Right.
just have those going into the
That's
AMS.
perfect. Yeah, that works.
It takes up a lot of space, but it keeps
Yeah.
it dry. Oh, nice.
I'm
And Jonathan's got a nice setup here. Yeah, we have one of those Sunloos going into uh, a bamboo, but we don't have it
Yeah, I
vertical
like
like
it.
that. We have it side by, taking up too much space.
It was just wide enough to sit on top of the K1 Max.
Oh, that's a K1 Max. Yeah, look at that. I like your top cover that you made there too. That's nice.
Yeah. That was the first part I made out of the Polymaker PA 612
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
carbon fiber
Yeah,
material.
I got a bunch of those polymakers at your suggestion that we're starting to test, and they're just amazing. And they print super nice.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the swappable base? Is that the one, the dryer that's got, individual storage container and you
No,
swap the base?
this one's just like a standalone. It can hold four spools, which is nice, but it's
Okay,
all one unit.
I see it up on top now. Yep.
Super cool. Yeah, I did that vertical with one of my A1s, putting the AMS on top. So much nicer.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm learning to build. Space is limited, so I'm
Yeah.
going vertical on quite a few things.
I also haven't seen that bed holder system is really nice. We should do that on our K2s. That's a great idea. Uh, has anyone looked at the Centauri Carbon 2? Anyone heard of that AMS in the field? I have a Centauri Carbon 1 I've been doing testing on, but haven't seen one with the new AMS.
I saw a brief review a few weeks ago, but I've not stayed up on it.
The one thing that we're getting really good Elegoo prints out of is their Neptune Max 4. We got one from their used site. I don't know if you've seen this on their website. They've got like a refurb section. We got one for like 300 bucks because we needed a big print volume and a couple of our machines with bigger volumes were down. And this has been awesome. It's manual calibration. The auto calibration does not work. But the manual calibrated, we're running like 4-day prints with like 2 kilogram plus where we've got it pauses and we resume it. And it's been great.
It's awesome. So you don't see the continuation lines or anything like
Haven't
that?
really even been able to find the spot.
Wow, that's great.
Uh, Let me find the actual, yeah, if I put this link in, it was the Neptune 4 Max pre-owned. Look, they got one on there for 299, which is crazy for like what's the bed size on this? It's close. It's not quite 500 millimeter, but it's close. Just an insanely large machine. It's like a big ender,
Right,
but we're comfortable working on enders, so this has been a good way for us to get a bigger volume out.
right.
I'm
That's
always
what I cut
interested
my
in
teeth on.
the big, the really big, yeah. And enders were great machines. But I'm interested in these big printers. I also know they have like their really big printer, which is just like 4 print beds next to each other. And there's a makerspace here at Charles River Museum down the street, the Orange Storm. They have an Orange Storm, and I've been really impressed. Every time I go by, it's running. It's like always running these really big, and it's literally just got like 4 large magnetic print beds, each with separate heating elements to make a square.
Amazing.
But that's like a $2,000 range 800 millimeter cube machine. Which I mean, it sits on the floor. It's like a human scale machine.
I was really interested in that Creality. I forget the model number, but it was like a conveyor belt one where you can make
Yeah,
something very
we
long.
have one of those, and it's okay. It's been a little harder to maintenance. It's so proprietary,
Mm,
but when you get it running, it is super impressive. But yeah, we if we find that whenever we're pursuing projects that need to be bigger, we focus on that for like a couple weeks, and then a project comes in that needs to be super small. We just had one come in that wants to do uh, these little chemical reactors for an organic chemistry class that will like uh, mix 2 chemicals in a little chamber. And so they need very small holes. And at the same time, we have another group that's trying to make things as big as possible for studying instruments. So we're always pulled in both directions. No one
very,
machine for all of it.
yeah. I set up my A1 as the with a point 0.2 nozzle as
Nice for
the
the
fine. Yeah,
super fine. Yeah. How's
yeah.
that working out for you?
Real good. The detail is fantastic. It's a fantastic little printer. Not enclosed, but it's got to be kind of choosy about what you put in you're going to print.
Yep.
But no real issues with it.
And usually like it's nice to have a machine specialized in some of those verticals, right? Like
It
have
is.
a small PLA machine, uh, like a small nylon machine, and not to go back and forth once you get it dialed in.
Yeah, because getting into H2D, I'm a little nervous about swapping nozzles because the nozzle wiper, it's very flimsy and it's broke once.
Yep.
You have to get in there and replace it, which is doable. And there's extra parts they send you, but um, still, if I ain't gonna mess with it, I try not to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to check out the SnapMaker. Jonathan, I'm wondering, is there anything exciting on your radar with in the machine space?
Um, Not necessarily anything new. I know I was kind of tasked to find a replacement printer for us here at work, but it was basically as big as possible with the most capability as possible for the minimal price.
Yeah.
They didn't quite define what that price was, so
Yep.
I kind of, we talked about the Pantheon, the 15 to $20,000 machines. Turns out they don't want to spend that. So now I was actually looking at the Rat Rig V4 or V4.1, I think they call it. Um, they have a 500 millimeter cubed IDEX
Yeah.
machine.
Wow, look at
Um,
that.
You do have to put it together yourself, but it comes right in at like $3,300, I think, from their store.
Very good. Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, 500 millimeter cube. That's you can, I don't even know if you can fit that through a doorway.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I'm sure you learn a lot by assembling it, which we always want to assemble. If there is a kit version and we're buying more than one, we always want to get one kit. Yeah, there's a picture of one of their teams sitting in it during assembly. That's crazy. Oh, and
That's big.
the IDEX is so nice.
I'm supposed to get that Snapmaker U1 either late March or early April. I got to figure
Nice.
out room in my office where I'm going to put it.
That's
We'll see,
exciting.
see how it goes. It's built up.
Yeah, always good to see the edge of what's possible. And yeah, I'm really interested in this 3D scanning question for adapting these designs to human physiology. I think we're going to have an unlock in the next year. Someone's going to find a workflow that works. I'm glad there's a couple teams thinking about this. It's got me thinking too about the CAD software side of like how we work with some of these assets. Because we really teach a lot of parametric solid modeling and we're tool agnostic. So we go between a lot of different tools. But lately I've been having more students show up with previous experience in Blender or Rhino, and you can be so much faster for especially like the open source assistive adapting and not just adapting to the physiology, but adapting to a particular use case, like taking a thing from one domain to another. Like we had a team take a gripper thing that was from the e-NABLE hub used for uh like golf clubs or hockey sticks and turn it into like a bicycle handle grip, but it's sort of the same domain. But then like figuring out how to take the wins of the open source community in that one context and then manipulate the design in CAD to another context. I do think that like Rhino is becoming the tool that I think I want to use more in coursework for that. And partially it's all these plugins, like the Grasshopper plugins in Rhino are just amazing. Now, I don't have enough expertise in that. I've got to do more R&D, but we've had more students showing up that are doing things like that in high school that now want to keep doing, like push the next level. I'm curious for both of you if there's like what's your daily driver? We've been a Fusion 360 shop for many years, but we're starting to lean towards Onshape because it's just so much easier to get it installed on student machines.
I've been using FreeCAD and learning it. I'd like to
FreeCAD is
expand
another
out.
one I'd love to explore more. SolidWorks is right in our backyard. I love SolidWorks as a company. It's been such a uh, teaching and cost barrier for students.
Okay.
And it's after they graduate, it's like, can they keep this tool? And FreeCAD sort of wins that conversation. I think our team is very interested in doing more FreeCAD R&D.
It's a very powerful tool, and there's a lot of good videos out there on YouTube on, even you could make a trace and then turn the trace into a 3D object and
Yep,
modify it.
super cool. Jonathan, what's your daily driver?
So kind of depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So when I first started out, I started out with SolidWorks. That was, 12 years ago or whatever now. Then I went and I learned Fusion. Then I daily drove CATIA
yeah,
for
nice.
about 5 years, and I learned Inventor at the same time to do CAM stuff.
Yep,
So computer aided machining. Now here at this job, I'm doing Inventor as the main driver and then Fusion.
yep.
I did notice that SolidWorks for makers has a license very similar to the Fusion scheme where you can have, I think it's so many, it's like, I think right
Nice.
now it was half off. It was like $25 for a year,
$25
I
a
think.
year. I haven't even seen this. We got to dig back into this.
Yeah, and they just limit, you're not supposed to make $2,000 a year or more. They
I
expect you to use it
I
as a
really
hobby
like that
license.
licensing. I think for these big companies, it makes sense that once there's a profit, they can get a piece of it, but before that, to make it more open is great.
I
Yeah.
like that. What do you guys recommend as far as something besides FreeCAD for manipulating the existing files to to
So
customize it for
the
a
problem
user?
I found, and I wonder what Jonathan thinks, is that none of these parametric solid modeling tools have excellent mesh handling capabilities. They'll bring in a mesh and they convert it into a body or whatever they call that like locked file, but the ability to like push and pull and do like Boolean operations is like super clunky. And a lot of now there are community plugins that can do a lot of this stuff, but finding the right one for your workflow, it's very bespoke. And then if you move to something like a Blender or a Rhino, they use a fundamentally different way of describing the 3D shape, which NURBS, like the non-rational splines, where it's instead of the triangle meshes, it's like the vertices of the meshes that you can push and pull, the way they think of the shape. And we can do stuff like we've been able to drape a model over a shape or drape a sheet over a model that is not conceivable in a parametric tool.
Cool.
And
Yeah, I mean
Blender is, yeah, go ahead.
my experience with working with meshes has been pretty minimal. I can stumble through Blender a little bit, but yeah, it is definitely a different kind of software than, the CAD like Fusion or SolidWorks or whatever.
And most of our work with this has been with 3D scan data because it's going to be turned into the medium it goes through after processing is it's going to go from acquisition to some sort of point cloud to some sort of mesh, and then we bring it into CAD. And there have been tools that go from mesh to parametric model, but they're very expensive. They're starting to get cheaper. But Geomagic was one of those. Um, but Blender is a free tool that can do this like more Boolean operations or draping with a mesh. And then Rhino is like, I don't know, it's under $100 a license. It's not super expensive. And it does have this huge community plugin library called Grasshopper that is just amazing what's possible.
I'm gonna check into that. That's good. And
So one of
Blender,
our
I was
use
trying.
cases,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just mentioning Blender. I had tried to go out and look to find the free version of Blender. They've hidden it. It's hard to find, but luckily I had found where I had saved a copy a couple years ago. Um, was able to reuse that. I don't know if it
Uh,
got bought out or if they just changed the licensing on it.
I think there's still a version. I think it's a free tool. I got the
Then it might be
installers
my
here.
limited searching ability.
I have to check, but I thought it was still free. Uh, the Rhino use case that blew my mind. I think I've shown this in one of these meetings. Uh, we have a classroom with 20 seats. The students build these hands as one of their 1 or 2 week projects every semester. And we were using Phoenix V3, moved to Phoenix V2. In the instructions, they want you to have like the thermoforming step is done with very hot water. And we did not want 10 very hot water buckets in a very busy classroom full of electronics. So our first TA, like a year or two ago, uh, took the cuff model that you usually would use for the thermoforming plastic, and they brought that into Rhino and they draped a cube over it. And so they got the negative shape of that in like a minute. And then they output that and they printed it in PETG with super high infill, like 80 or 90% infill. So you get this like huge thermal mass. And we have all these soldering reflow stations. So the idea is, oh, and then they also made a positive from that jig that was a little reduced and simplified. And then you would put your flat print that you would need to thermoform on top of this jig, heat it with a soldering reflow like heater, and then take the piece and push it in. And because the PLA has such a lower transition point and the thermal mass of that big PET block, it's so much more dense. It would barely get hot by the time the PLA piece could be formed. And we'd get a much more uniform radius out of it than we ever got with the water technique. But that was the thing
That's
that
cool.
student like noticed in class and like as a problem and got the design in like under half an hour ready for output. And then the next day we were using it. And we've got to refine it a bit. I think we'd want to get it so it has some like places to clamp it to a table, and then we could like contribute it back. Right now, you're sort of just like over clamping it and like pushing on it. But
That's a
that's the
neat
use case.
method.
It's
Yeah.
so much quicker.
Yeah, it's definitely. And like dipping your hand in boiling water, so it's
Yeah, or like spilling it on the person next to you is like not
right,
a thing we
or
really
on a
like.
computer. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. On the scanning side, we're starting to use a couple different ones. We're experimenting with the Creality ones, and we really like the RevoPoint ones for their software. We've always been more of an art tech shop for the handheld turnkey stuff. We got our first one of those almost 10 years ago, and we still have it. It still works. But moving from an industrial tool to like a consumer grade tool, just like the printers, feels like the same technology arc the printers went at from like the original MakerBots to the original Prusas and Enders and everything. The handheld scanning is going through that now. And the software has really been the game changer in the last year for us.
What's the price point for those hand scanners from Crowdy now?
So they're somewhere between 500 and 1500, depending on the models. And the ones we've been experimenting with are around 1500, and they're using them for head scanning for fine arts.
Hmm.
The RevoPoint that we like, the Pop 3, is like a $500 scanner. Can definitely get something like hand resolution.
Nice.
The trick is these are all structured light scanners. So they're projecting a known pattern in a color of light and looking at the deformation of the pattern to get geometry. So they have scale built in, they have measurement built in. But the color of the light matters a lot for what's possible. And some scanners really don't like dark colors, and some scanners really don't like light colors. Human skin works great on most of them. Hair does not. uh, so my joke is always we can scan your head great if you're willing to remove your hair, which most people are not willing to do.
Bald is beautiful. Come on.
Yeah. But specularity is the enemy of most of the scanner type because they're looking at the deformation of a beam. If the beam doesn't bounce off and come back to the sensor, they're not getting shape data.
Gotcha.
So anything that's shiny or reflective, which human hair, even if you don't think of it as shiny and reflective, sort of is. And even like uh, the small gaps between hair can be really hard. So still trying to figure out the best way to do that. And all of these techniques, I think, can be beat by photogrammetry, but with substantially more time and effort. So lower cost barrier, you just need photos as your input, but it might take a long time to get the right pattern and details in your photo setup.
Gotcha. And you said the software for the Crowdy one is really good?
It's okay. So really good software starts at the super high-end scanners, like Artec as an entry point. Creality seems okay. The RevoPoint is quite good. And it's free software, and it seems to run on low-powered computers great. Like any PC or Mac seems to run it pretty well. I like the workflow there to get to a finished product is good. It's less of a mesh Swiss Army knife than you see from some of the like more expensive vendors, but it is free, so everyone can take a copy home. And we've tried a bunch of different sizes of these, but we really like the Pop 3 is sort of the medium size, which works well for like tabletop objects and for like e-NABLE stuff. And if you're an educational institution, you can get a slight price discount.
Would it be good enough for like doing a limb difference if you actually scanning?
I think so. We got to do the R&D on this. Hands are really hard because of rigging. So like a lot of these, you can do like two techniques for any of these. Fixed object rotating scanner or fixed scanner rotating object. Obviously with a hand, you can't like rotate the scanner where the human body is. So you need to move the scanner around it, and keeping the object fixed with the geometry is really hard. The more expensive software can account for that. It can figure out like, oh, this position is the same as this, like it's the same underlying shape. A lot of these lower price scanners, the software can't get there. So you've got to somehow keep a fixed position, which often having like a rig or something to like position with the human physiology
Hmm.
helps during the rotation to not have something move and then get a bad data set.
Right. Right. Interesting. Hmm.
So yeah, we're always looking at, you're sort of hacking it because while these can be made for like medical device scanning, they work really well for like something like your back that like you can kind of hold still and get the scanner all around, or like a human head that as long as you're not like blinking or moving your jaw, there's less movement. The hand is really hard because it's hard to get around the whole shape.
Yeah. Unless you're going to shell out big bucks for the big for those other devices. Like my dentist has got one, she
Yeah.
scans teeth and creates crowns that way.
And then the software knows there's only so much differences in teeth. Like
Hmm.
they can figure out if you got it or not
Right.
computationally a little. Yeah.
Right.
And then obviously you could just do mold making, right? And then scan molds. So
Mhm.
for some of this stuff, and some things need to be under load. Like to make an orthotic, you can't scan a foot that's not under load, right? So you need to like make an impression somewhere. Or even beyond that, you kind of need like measurement of the forces during that. So like some of these, there are other systems that can do a better job at that. I don't know if you've been to a lot of running shoe places now have like a shoe scanning
Yeah, where you
device in the
stand on it.
store. Yeah.
Right.
And the other way we can get around this is what they do is multi-sensors. So a lot of these scanners were buying like a single sensor. And I haven't seen yet um, a software that works with these low-end scanners that we can plug multiple into. But on the medium end, once you get to like over $10,000 on a device, you can put multiple sensors together into the acquisition software. And that's great, especially for scanning like things that don't want to stay still, like an animal.
Gotcha. I just scrolled through the chat and I saw Jonathan's stuff to test. He looks like a podcaster
Oh
there,
yeah.
Jonathan, holy mackerel.
I've got
Yeah,
not as much of that, but a bunch of those same boxes in a pile next to me here.
yeah, it's a bunch of that fiber on polymaker stuff.
It's such
And
beautiful material.
I have some
What's a good
3DX
use
tech
for it?
stuff in there.
What kind of things
Anything
do
that
you
you
use it
need
for?
that's really, really strong. So
Okay.
like most of the stuff I use in there is like PA6 or PA12, so nylons,
Do you go through
PPS.
annealing? Do you do the annealing step?
I have it takes so long.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff I do is so reactionary that we can't quite afford, 9 hours for it to sit in an oven and
Yep.
get 5%, 10% more stiff or strong. I haven't noticed uh unexpected failure from not annealing it. Um,
Do you think
I
about
don't
a
know. You
direction of
probably
force
should.
with your layer lines? Do you like orient so that
Yeah,
layer lines are
yeah,
perpendicular to direction of force? Yeah.
yeah. And a lot of the stuff you can mitigate it by the design. So like
Yeah.
if you're building a bracket, it makes sense to put a gusset in there.
Yep.
That kind
You
of
know,
eliminates the need, I think, for a lot of that.
yeah, the design for manufacturing is so important.
Mhm.
And then can you do like another support material on those too? Like does it I haven't played with like if it doesn't bind to what with the any of the nylons.
Yeah, I think they have like I think PVA or something like that.
PVA is such a nightmare to print with. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've never tried it. I got my supports all set up pretty well so that they pretty much snap off with minimal
Nice.
cleanup.
Nice.
Using the same material to
But
PA6 or PA12.
yeah, yep. But my latest one, I just printed out a bunch of these TPU gripper pads. So these actually
Nice.
sit on like the gripper of an industrial, a FANUC robot. So when it picks up our product, it's got a little bit of squish.
Cool.
Nice. Do you have a favorite TPU or just
Um,
durometer? Are you going for like the 95A side or
yeah,
the 85A
I
side?
I used to really like the Ninja Tech stuff when I was doing really soft.
Yeah.
Like I think I did one that was an 80A or maybe it was
Wow.
85A. It
Yeah.
was a nightmare to print with though.
Yeah.
Um, this orange stuff I just started. This is my first lot. It printed out really nice. It was the Matter Hackers build series.
Oh, cool.
So it's significantly cheaper than like the Polymaker stuff that I was
Yep.
doing. And I like it. I used to print out a lot with the Amazon Basics TPU, but they discontinued that. That's been by far my favorite one. The
Cool.
Amazon
We haven't tried
Basics
this one.
delivery one.
I really like all the Matter Hackers stuff. They're a great vendor.
It figures too, right? When you get something you like, that Amazon stops carrying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan, you know that finger I was doing for the gentleman who I thought needed it in England but didn't.
Yeah.
I did the interface to for the stump and TPU, and I can't remember if it was the bamboo one, but it turned out pretty nice and it was easier to print. I did it on the A1, so I didn't have the nightmare of trying to getting it stuck in the AMS or anything like that, or having to
Sure.
take my printers apart. But you like the Matter Hackers primarily?
Yeah, this one is I just started using it, so this is literally the first prints off the roll, but the color looks nice. It you know the uh the layer adhesion and stuff, it all looks good. It didn't string too bad. And that's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, it's like
That,
half price because
that's
those
my
are
wheelhouse.
kilogram.
Yeah.
They're not 500-gram spools, which is rare in TPU.
Oh, that's good to know. Writing that note
Orange looks
down.
great too. It's a nice color. Yeah,
Yeah, I
we have been
convinced.
buying the more like 95A stuff because it prints better on the Prusas with the Bowden tube.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my so my complication with my dryer, I designed my own little 2-to-1 splitter for the Bowden tube, so I can have one
Cool.
that runs through the machine and then it splits to two and can run two from the dry box. So then I
Cool.
just reverse it, pull it out of the tube, and then I can put the other one in, kind of similar to the AMS, except manual, I guess.
Yep.
That's
That's
worked out
cool.
all right, but it creates a little bit of drag, I think. So I think that
Yep.
was a little bit of my issue with TPU before.
Very cool. I gotta try some of this. This is one of the most useful things in these meetings for me is to know the landscape of what's possible and like what we should be trying out.
Totally agree.
I went through a spool of Matter Hackers, what was it? It was TPE, their Pro Series, it was the red pen. Um, it was a really cool material. I just dropped a link in the chat. It was a really cool material, but it stuck to my um PEI sheet on my bed so bad. It
Oh
like
no.
tore up when I took it off.
Oh,
That was an awesome material.
What did you like about it? What's its performance like?
Its layer adhesion was phenomenal. Like you literally couldn't destroy it if you tried to without a chemical or some sort of flame.
Wow. What do you think? Uh, is it hydroscopic? Do you think it'll pull up water over time, and or does it seem to stay pretty durable?
It seemed like it was okay. I didn't use it for super long, but
Yeah,
I had made like a shockproof case for a digital angle gauge that they kept on
cool.
dropping.
Yep. Oh, that's super cool. They've got to love that. I wonder if there's other hacks to get it off the build plate. Like if you put it in a freezer, do you get a little separation
Yeah.
or anything?
Yeah, or put some glue stick down or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm finding I'm having better luck with for, for PTG, Petchy using the glue stick, but then the liquid for PLA. Have you guys ever
Hmm.
had issues or tried different things?
We just try to get we're mostly a PLA and PETG shop, and under good calibration with a PEI sheet. The main thing for us is we have so many people touching them. Our hack is you've got to isopropyl the bed before you start your print,
Wash your hands. Yeah.
and then you'll
Yep.
probably have a good stick. But yeah, most of our failure to adhere are either a filament that's like been open for too long and has a ton of water in it, or like a greasy build plate.
Mhm.
So
copying
mine,
the forms here.
I used to have a bunch of build plates for each kind of material. Um, and they're all pretty much textured PEI. Some of them required like a glue stick. I used like the purple glue, like Elmer's
Hmm.
glue. That worked really well, but I switched. That link, like my first link I dropped in the chat, the Vision Miner nanopolymer adhesive. I started using that, and that stuff is absolutely crazy. I will never
Oh
not
yeah,
have this stuff on hand now.
you like this. We've tried this out a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you like about
That's
it? Is
you
it
coat
just
on the
like,
build plate. Sorry.
sorry,
Yeah,
easy
so
to
you can drip
clean?
it, yep, drip it all over the build plate and then kind of brush it around with a brush to make an even layer. Um, and basically, once it's done, you pop it out. Don't take the part off the bed, just let it cool down. And by the time it gets, acclimated back to room temperature, your part will likely have just fallen off.
That's cool.
And what I like about it is there's no maintenance to it. So like I've been going on like 10, 15 things, 10, 15 prints. And I'm talking like big nylon prints that fill up the whole bed, and I have no warping issues. And
Wow.
that's usually
And wait,
the biggest issue with nylon.
Do you reapply between each print?
No,
You just put it on once and it keeps popping off properly? That's super cool.
correct. Yep.
That's great. And then eventually reapply it after so many prints, you start seeing some. When would you
Yeah,
reapply?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so after parts no longer stick, which
That
it's
makes
it's
sense.
really crazy because like it works and then it doesn't just gradually stop. Either it works or it doesn't. And when it
Oh, there
doesn't
you go.
work, it's after like 15 or 20, you know, things of it. So then usually I clean it off.
I like that. Yeah. Binary, very easy.
Yeah.
Works or don't.
Mhm.
This is always
Cool.
like Ian, like you said, it's very informational. I always
Yeah.
like talking to you guys.
Super helpful. I'm going to try out a couple of these new materials and this should go back into the nano. I think we hadn't had like a good use case, but trying some of those PA6 and PA12s is a great use case to figure that out.
And
Absolutely,
are
Chris.
those nylons too hard for the devices that we print? Would that be more for
No,
like
no,
brackets and
no. You could totally I think there are wins you could definitely have with them.
okay.
I think the hesitation I have with it is most of those nylons are all carbon fiber infused. And that's obviously going to be a pretty nasty skin irritant. So
Yeah,
I've never tried them with a device that gets handled by skin, but I don't see, I mean, as long as you have the medical grade padding on
totally.
Right.
something
Or
like
maybe
our
like as a
regular hand
finger,
devices.
like I also really like hybrid, where like maybe the parts we thermoform are made out of one material, and the parts that are made for gripping are made out of another material,
Ah,
and the
yeah.
part that has all
Mhm.
the strain in the middle, like especially like where the device articulates, maybe that's the opportunity to put in like something super tough.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
I really liked Dr. Rick's stuff, where he would approach some of that with like non-printed materials. Like he had a hand that he made the fingers out of bicycle chain. And I thought that was such a cool logic that you're still using the printer for what it's good for adapting to physiology. But then where the printer doesn't have to make the best fingers, like there's already things that can grip well. Can we like use the technology where it's best?
That makes sense. Hey, Jonathan, I'm working on, I've got that hand, my test hand for the Uganda project printed. I'm getting ready to form it. I'm focusing on just using PETG for strength and the heat, especially if it's going to go to Central Africa. Um, is that a good idea, or do you got any thoughts on not doing that, or any ideas?
I think PET-G is going to definitely be better for the application than PLA.
Okay.
Um, both of them are plenty stiff, so I think that's a good thing. Um, I mean, there probably are better things, but I think for easily accessible, PET-G is definitely a good choice.
Cool. Okay, and especially and as I go along, if I find things to tweak, then I can always adjust. But Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from like a spec standpoint, something like um a annealed polycarbonate would be probably the best material.
Yeah.
It's extremely strong and it still gives a little bit. However, it's just hard to print.
You know, the other thing that I like about PETG is its fail state is very nice compared to other thermoplastics. Like it often when it breaks, it doesn't break as sharp and brittle, or it'll bend. It'll like deform before it shatters. So
I remember you mentioned that, Ian. Yeah.
I do like that as a like thinking about, especially if we like want to try the best way to do an annealed high performance plastic, like to do a little bit of break testing on some swatches like those pieces that Jonathan would like just see how it fails,
Hmm.
do a little bit of testing.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
And I think if you do that with PETG, it's like a nicer, it's kind of nice the way it fails.
Less jaggedy. Yeah. You don't want someone getting hurt. Yeah. It breaks.
Or like you could imagine someone like putting like body weight force on it, like maybe they trip and they put it on a table,
Hmm.
and like that's where we really don't want them to then like trip, hand on table, shatter, and then cut themselves or something. Like to think about that like fail state.
Wound on wound. Yeah. That's a good point.
I've got to run to a next meeting. We're just about at time, but this is super fun to talk to both of you. Hopefully people can find it on the conversation recordings too and get something from it.
Yeah.
And
I'll
our
post it to the
next
calendar.
Cool.
The March schedule is not set, so
Okay,
don't
we're
look at
still
that.
working on the March schedule, so we'll be back in about a month.
Sounds
Well,
good.
the next education and new members meeting is March 26th from 1 to
Good.
2, right?
Yes, that's what I have.
Okay, great.
So I'll see you both then, if not before.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, for leading us as always.
Oh, on March 12th, our chapter leaders meeting is going to be at a different time at 10:30 to accommodate someone from Pakistan who's going to present
Cool.
on what they're working on. So if you are free at 10:30 Eastern on March 12th, mark your calendar for that. But the rest of it, I'm still
yeah.
setting up. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Have a great
Well,
month,
good talking
everyone.
to you all.
And
All right.
always
Thanks a lot.
super great to have the conversations, and hopefully some people can get some use out of this.
And hopefully by next time I'll be over this cold. Thanks, Sarah, for setting it up.
Good luck. Rest
Yeah.
up.